self-evident
that all men are created equal.
As a member of Congress, I get to have a lot of really interesting people in the office, experts on what they're talking about.
This is the podcast
For insights into the issues,
China, bioterrorism, Medicare for all, in-depth discussions.
breaking it down into simple terms. We hold
these truths.
we hold these truths.
with Dan Crenshaw.
Hey folks, welcome back. And today we are going to continue the discussion on military whistleblowers. Got a great guest to really talk
There's a
about
hole
that
right
today.
there.
I think
You
this
missed
would
a
be
spot.
one of our best whistleblowers. His name is Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Lohmeyer.
This is why
You
this
may
was on my watch
remember
later
this
list.
story
Yeah,
back
come
in
back on
May
this one.
when
'Cause
you
this
heard
is
of a
fair
Space
play.
Force
This is
commander
somebody's
being
actually
fired
seen the stone
for
mill,
speaking out
you know
against
what I mean?
Marxism.
From the
So,
manager's perspective, boop, I'm
I'm
sure.
going to go with Matt. Matt,
And then you
thanks for being
go
on
through the
and sharing your
squeaky
story.
on everything.
Thanks, Congressman. I appreciate it.
One-eyed, blindfolded, whatever.
Let's
Both eyes open,
tease out that
down,
story. Let's
down,
unpack that a
down.
little bit. So you had just taken over command, and
AR-670
as the story goes, as the public knows it, all of a sudden you're fired just for speaking out against Marxism.
Rabbit.
Is that
I'm gonna
oversimplifying
become
it? I mean, what really happened here?
Because that's one of mine, and I sent them over to the Russia
Well,
Winter
first off,
Games.
I'm always saying this in every
Today.
interview or podcast that I do. These are my views, not those of the Defense Department, of course. But you're right. I took command a year ago.
Let's
It
hit
was July
Space
of
Force
2020.
on the optics, this thing
As
having
your
the
listeners
bunny
would
on
recall, that was in the aftermath of the
here.
George Floyd death. There were still riots taking
Claim.
place in the country, and of course, there was a lot of
that
you could call it
goose.
social issues related dialogue throughout the country and division that was occurring. And I came into command at that point in
Force.
time, and the
What we are
COVID
talking about is a ball
pandemic
squared
was
circle
also
problem. Call me
a
command,
new
born
thing
and
for
roll.
us that we were sorting out as a
As the
country.
new
There were a lot
mule
of
for gravity
crises
here.
and issues over which
What
I
it
think
was,
people
the
could get
wobbles today.
emotionally involved
Out
and
there.
divided.
Just being
But
day-night
that's the
cycle.
climate into which I
So
come
big
into
you couldn't
command, take
quantify
command of the
anything else
space-based
into
missile
the
warning
cosmic
unit.
radiation background,
And
vector positions, a hot cold
one
on
of the
the
things that I do right after
autonomous
I take
neural
command
net
is
blinkities
I
of the
scheduled an interview with every
MRI,
member of my
magnetism,
unit
gravity, strong
so
force,
that I
weak
could have a
force,
one-on-one
up,
dialogue
down,
with
hot,
folks, learn where they're
cold,
from,
system to tone and
what
frequency,
their background
amplitude,
is, how long they've been at the base, and
neutrinos rolling
any
in
stressors
here.
they might be
Stick your head in the
experiencing. And
hydrogen
because
collider
it
right
was a
here.
tough climate,
What?
I was interested in kind of taking some
Son,
really
you
good
are
notes
my
on
core.
folks
That's
that I was
what I
sitting
mean.
down
It's like
with.
when you hit it. It's like
What
I
that
want to be
turned
able to
into
take
is me
this and say to
starting
the
to
admiral
learn
here or
about,
the captain,
some
you are in my core,
some
because that's
tension
what you
that
got
was
to pass
being
along.
generated
Momentum.
at the ground level based
You're
on
gonna be.
trainings that were
You're gonna
occurring
be.
that I walked into or stepped into in command when I
I
came
don't
in
mind
July,
XI or
that I began
I look
to
at
pay
the
very
number,
close
I see
attention
vector
to from that
positions of
point
the judge
forward.
and the no-knock
Those
warrant,
trainings
right?
are
Come
labeled
in your
diversity
house
and
today
inclusion
with
trainings.
the
Most
militia,
often,
whatever
sometimes we had
militia
down
that
days,
is, malignant,
or virtual
benevolent, or
wingman
otherwise.
days, as we would call them, to discuss issues of race in the country.
Starts the tone to
and
frequency of the adjustment of
It was
renormalization
from
of the
there that I
GOD
began to
60.
branch out and
Space
reach out to
forces,
other friends
times,
who were in command
spaces,
elsewhere.
energy, derivative, LSD,
Friends who were
marshmallows,
serving
whether
at
you
different
take it,
bases
whether you
around the
don't
world
take
to ask
it,
if they were
pretty one,
noticing
not
some
pretty
of the
one,
same
alphas and
divisive
betas, and
tension that
fundamental
was
failure, sexual
occurring
behavioral,
at my
tall
own
horse,
base
wide,
at
pretty
their
horse.
bases as well. And every base is
I wish
a
I
little
could tell
bit
you this
unique,
box
but
is
there
tall
was a
horse,
common
wide horse,
thread
pretty
that
horse
I
in
began
terms
to
of
pull
who you
on,
let ride it,
and
or
is
this
that there
one.
was a
Or
lot
her.
of emotion and division that was starting
Energy.
to
Neg
appear in military
zero
speak.
E1.
We
Lyman
refer to that
diagram,
as
right?
the undermining
Take
of
two
good,
bread ties and
order
twist
and
them together.
discipline,
It's got a
or,
little thing over here, a little
it
thing
was
over here, a
beginning
little
to
thing over
impact
here,
morale.
and that.
And so that's when I come
What's
into
going on
command.
in
It's
there?
July.
Make a
That's
bowstring
kind
out
of
of
the
them. I'm
setting,
gonna
and
get a
that's when
million
I
of them
start
and link them
to
all together and
pay very close
stick it to a
attention
stick
to
and cut
issues
some notches
that I had
into it
studied
and
for a long
fusion.
time, but didn't
Might
really
well be.
appreciate until July and August of
There's
last
fusion
year were
is
actually
bunch
starting
of
to really
marshmallows
dramatically
lined up in a
affect the
series
culture
of
of our armed
systems. Because
forces.
hydrogen number one supremo actually
So,
quantum
but
mechanics.
how does that lead into
Black
being
hole
relieved
kelp,
of command?
supernova.
Is it because of the book
Okay,
that came
right.
out?
Hawking radiation,
Yeah, that's the question you
electromagnetic
asked, I guess, and
storms,
I
or
was starting
gravity
back
coming
there and
off.
forgot to go to where you asked. So
Yeah, Odin, like I said,
Because
sometimes I
of what
gotta
I
put
was
my hand on
seeing,
your shoulder, even though you're the
this is
young
the
version
important
there,
point that I
Thor.
was actually
You know, in
wanting
terms
to,
of what it is,
make.
given the Green Lantern Corps over here.
I did my best to delicately use the chain of command at first, the internal mechanisms
I don't have
available
time
to
for
all service
delicately.
members.
Let's face it. Yesterday
to
was the born in
point out
where
my
it was
concern
sideways when I
that
listened to
our
people's
incessant
bullshit coming
focus
here.
on
There's a
race
dragon living right here. Let me be
discussions
perfectly fucking clear about
was
getting
starting
hit
to
by
be
a
quite
semi or
divisive.
getting eaten by a dragon equals dead, right?
And
So that's what it is,
when
and
I
that's
say
what
I
we're
use my
playing
chain
in the
of command, I
simulator
use
today.
the
The
chain
Space
of
Force
command,
is on
like,
timelines
from
about
my
the
immediate
Jacobian
supervisor on up.
Matrix, the Laplacian Matrix, and
and,
Reach coming
when I
in here
felt
like
like
Buddha One Stone
that wasn't getting much.
Monument.
Now, my leaders, to be clear, were sympathetic to the issue, and
Blue?
they listened
Blue,
carefully.
blue?
They're good leaders in so many ways, and so I'm not denigrating the leaders. They listened carefully. President
I
Trump
just
in
pumped them
September
full
of
of it,
last
so
year
much
came out
of
with an
it that
executive
when they
order
got to momentum,
banning,
they had
race
standard
and
models that you were Lou
stereotyping.
pissed
It was
off,
an
Lou and the
executive
normal
order issued on
being
the
Lou, or Lou
22nd
being
of
nice.
September.
What's the operator?
And after that
Bones?
executive order came out, there
Up
was a
and
sigh
down
of
right
relief
now?
that was
If I was in
essentially
this, it would be
breathed by
left
many
to right,
service members that I've
E4.
been talking to, thinking, okay, this is going to simmer down a little bit.
E4 middle
And I
phase
think in
gambit
many
of the
ways
chess
it
game
did.
because you pulled a
However,
rook down
one thing that I
to
noticed was that
B3.
there were base leadership sanctioned
Call actions as spooky
discussions
distances to
that were
on-timeless
continuing to
programs. Click,
occur.
click, click,
They were
click,
not
click, 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 click,
base-wide
click,
down
click.
days, let's say, but they were reading clubs that were beginning to be established and advertised
GPT-3,
by
make me
base
a master
leadership,
mason, please.
encouraging
Just-
people to show up and discuss books like Ijeoma Oluo's "So You Want to Talk About Race," which talks
You
about the
go
white
over there, you
supremacist
grab the
United
terminal, you
States.
find out, oh,
Denigrates the Constitution and the
AR-15-0-1,
Declaration of
clink, clink,
Independence
clink,
and
throw 'em
demonizes people
blindfold,
based on their race,
explode that
specifically
AR-15
whites.
in the barracks that day
And
for a
so I
90-day
attended a
training protocol in my
discussing that book.
backyard about,
Not only
well,
does it do
we
that,
don't
it was
have
exceptionally
tarps or
partisan
strings, we got
because
sticks,
it recommended
fucking
to these
sticks.
young, impressionable
Figure it out,
service members
Genesis,
to which
around here. What's
organizations
patrol?
they
How
should be
does it
donating
go?
their free
What's the
money.
game?
Wow.
Organizations that have a very specific
You learn more
political
than
bent,
having a computer.
as you can imagine.
This little HP
And so,
droid right here I used
with
to take
that
down the world.
happening still even after
Right?
the
This
executive
thing
order,
right
I
here,
filed a formal complaint with
thing
the
right
Inspector
there,
General's
this
Office of
thing.
the Space Force, detailing not only some of the issues specifically, which I
Nikki
do
caught me
detail
one day.
specifically,
You know
but
Nikki, the
also
Navy guy.
pointing out that it was in
Coming out
violation
there
of an
with
executive
some
order
drill
from the
sergeant bull
Commander-in-Chief.
losing his job
Also
for
pointing out that it was
dealing
rooted
with
in
the
critical
kid
race
that
theory.
joined the cartel
and
and he
talk
broke in his
about
house
just
to
how
see if he was still
dangerous
alive.
that was.
And why did
And,
this drill sergeant,
I
this
can't
gunnery
pretend to
sergeant,
understand
lose his
following
job
the
over some
filing
damn
of a formal
pissant when he
complaint
was doing
exactly
his?
the conversation that takes place behind
He
the
signed an X
scenes.
on a thing. Someone's like, well,
So
that's
I
not
won't-
what the
I
X's
won't
are. Yeah, neither are
insist
moral
that one
contracts
thing
is on
did or did not
disclosure
happen
waivers
in
of why I
particular
quit
way,
the
but what I
business
can
and
say
I
is
need
that after
2 weeks
several months of
reference where it'll
waiting
come
for a
up on a
response,
fucking leisure
the
later.
response came back once the writing was on the wall, and we saw it was very seemed
Because
to
I
me,
need a buck in
seemed
that
to me
area. And
very
I might piss
politically
that
charged,
buck
the
off, but you
decision.
got to have the fucking
There
responsibility to
was
say,
an
hey, look,
acknowledgement of receipt of my
anti-opposition
complaint
on the
and
Mount
the
Tesla,
appropriate
great,
action
but
had
he
been
didn't
taken.
come from there. You're
And
not
then
from those
the
same
new,
standards. You got to figure it out.
administration
It's
came
equity
in,
on those timelines.
and it was all around that same
kid,
time.
it's
It
your
was
money
actually
because you're
the
going to
day
fuck
after
up
the
your
January
money.
6th insurrection.
It'd be just this
so-called,
version of this
that I got a
hand
response
rule or this one and the
saying
adjustment to
that,
the
that my complaint had been taken
cosmic
care
hand.
of. And when I
The whole area
when I
over
saw
there lines
that,
up. Ian, what's going on over there? Well,
just how
physics,
politically charged
X,
all
Y,
of this is.
Z, T,
And then
back
you
to
know,
X
the current
again, F1
administration,
plus
for
F2
example,
equals minus F1.
this isn't a criticism, I'm stating a matter of
Dragon.
fact, but repealed, or I should say abolished, that executive order by executive order that President Trump had
Somebody
issued
gonna hit me with
on
something. What's
22
going on in
September.
Fermilab? I have no idea what
and
nuclear
essentially
technology.
came up
Take a
with a new
walk.
policy that allowed
Personally
for
here,
critical
and
race
then if I have
theory-based
the
diversity
authority and
inclusion
means, go
trainings
walk
to begin
over there and do an
thriving,
incident report
in
of what
our-
the fuck
in our
Fermilab
defense
team's doing.
department. And
I
just sense
remember
that there's not gonna
when an
be any end to this
astrophysicist
anytime soon.
got
We're
out
gonna
there
continue
on
to see
Fox and
division
told me why he
in the
couldn't
ranks
tell me
unless
where
we
the
draw
satellite was
greater
going to
attention
land
to
in the
this
South
problem
China
and have
Sea.
a really high-level dialogue about this. And so
Being in the
with
simulator
that
today,
motive,
Bernally.
essentially, and understanding
Bell?
just how dangerous the path is that we're walking on this identity politics path.
Gresham's
that's rooted in
law is
Marxism.
important.
I
It's only
was,
because F1 plus
feverishly scribbling out
F2
a
equals
book in my
minus
free
F1.
time,
Do I
which
get
isn't much as a
Tesla,
commander.
Newton, Poncure,
And
Hodges,
Secretary of Defense invited all
Secretary
service
of
members to
Defense,
draw attention to extremism when they saw it within the
former
ranks.
captain
And,
here,
that was
being
kind
a
of
general, the terms.
That was the last encouragement.
What do you
nudge
think
I
they're doing
needed,
when they get to the board?
In addition to counseling with public
Nikki over
affairs
there.
and
How do
legal,
we get in, General?
before I
What's our
published the
end? You're
book,
doing the
but
job
it was
right now.
important
Doing
for
a
me
hell of
to
a
publish
job.
the
You're just
work.
not
And
getting
so
cut
I
off for the
published
tax
the work
dollars
in
for it
May.
on budgets to what Stone Build
It
we're
was
going to build today. today.
publicly
And I mean,
available
let's
on
look
the
at
10th.
Shark Attack.
And,
Let's look
I was fired
at
on
the new
14th.
softer Paris Island.
And my book was not cited as a reason for being
Should be
relieved of
harder than the
command.
Grand Obelix
The
Bill.
podcast that I had done
Because it
when
was
Todd
fine.
Wood at CD Media
What's
was
different
cited,
in there is
and,
leaders
it
and
was
systems,
alleged
and
that I was
it's not on
politically
camera. We
partisan
can't go to review
while
on those
acting in an
things. I mean,
official
be like, hell,
capacity.
if you got what
And
it
that's
takes
the
to
reason
stand
I was
outside
being
and say,
fired.
oh,
And,
our
I
5-team
deny
unit
that
can do
to
what
this
this
day.
other
I wasn't
5-team
acting in
unit,
an
that's
official
great. That's an
capacity.
amazing
And
protocol to
I'm
sign
not
into this
interested in
militia,
partisan
get
politics
involved. But
being
what
in
you
our
don't
forces. In
understand
fact, I
when
don't
you
care
come
what
in
people
here about
politics
owning the
are.
damn world, you might
What
be
I-
right about the
what I
problems
want to see is
there.
a non-political
There's a whole fucking base of
military
5-team
institution
units running
that
around
allows
inside
people,
here about
regardless
how
of their
that's conducted in
politics,
systems.
have a welcoming
I think
environment. We're always talking
here
about
somebody's going to
inclusion.
say they missed out on
And
what
yet there's
that
a lot
was.
of people feeling not included at the moment, depending on what their political persuasion is.
Blind, broken back. You work fine with
Yeah,
stone
That's,
mill
that's
because
finally
I'll
the answer
make
to your
it
question.
work.
Yeah,
A woman
it's
in
good to
town that can't
unpack
figure it
that.
out. Well, I wonder what brother.
It does seem to
just
me, and
handy
as
in
we've
the
looked at through these,
neighborhood.
some of the more egregious sort of woke whistleblower complaints, they overwhelmingly
wish
come
they
from
was
the Air
woke,
Force. I mean, so what the hell is going on in the Air Force in particular? They already screwed up by not putting Navy ranks in the Space Force.
You know, look at the
because
young
that would
lady.
have been
She
the
did it
obvious
right
choice
taking down
of the
the
rank
statute
structure.
generally.
And
It
I don't
needed
see,
to come down.
I'm sorry, but Lieutenant Colonel shouldn't be manning a spacecraft. It should be
But
captain.
What
should be
was
the
going in
captain
there?
of the
Community
ship.
garden?
But,
Should have been
hey,
a
you
tomb
know,
for a
Space
bunch
Lord.
of people's names
Yeah, well, that's
under
it.
that war,
Space
or
Lord
a
or
war
something.
No,
monument
instead of
of
Guardians, it should have
the
been
Civil
Space
War.
Lords.
About people fought and died for these things. Here's the up, the anti,
that was
up,
actually
the
an
left,
amendment
the
that
right,
passed the House to
battle
make
map
the
of the
Space Force use
topology
Navy
on those
ranks, but it
things,
couldn't
and
get through the
what
Senate
happened
because
when
Air
you don't
Force
fucking
generals
follow the
were,
rules of gravity.
were all upset about it, and all of our
It's a
boring
number.
senators
It would have been one thing
so
fine for a
I'm
time. It
really-
certainly made it
don't worry, it'll
through.
be in the next NDAA.
Then people
And,
started to get
the
too
American
much
people will get
of
their way
it.
eventually. There's a long history in American pop culture of Space Force having a Navy rank structure. Spaceballs, Star Wars, Star Trek. It's deeply ingrained in American culture. You can't escape that.
Agree.
But anyway, on a more serious note, although that I think that is pretty serious. Why the Air Force?
Yeah,
I mean,
makes me wonder
why do
why
I
we have
keep
more
hearing all of
Lions
this
running
woke stuff
around.
come from the Air Force? It's not like it's
The
only the Air
Orioles
Force,
bang
but
around.
it's overwhelmingly in the Air Force.
Well, that's news to me, actually.
If you want to win,
Now,
you
so
gotta
I
have that
can't
extra
answer
calf
that
muscle
question
back.
specifically. In fact, since being relieved of command and being on podcast and doing
What
shows
about gray
and things,
aliens and wearing masks
it's
all
only
the time
been since then
and
that I've become
not needing the certain
overwhelmingly
things or
aware
eating
of
only
this issue
coconuts,
across
no
the services
crabbies on
and
the
not just
island.
in the Air Force, in fact. And when I wrote my book,
Over time,
while I traced through at the latter end of my book,
Schroeder, multi-world time to elite and
examples from
operate
all of the major service academies of this kind of think permeating.
Jordan Patterson
our,
said it
service
best when he
academies
was
or our
talking about the
military
IQ
institutions.
on an 83. Critical
I
thinking
didn't really
can't
have
be
a
taught.
good picture that this was
I
in
just
fact
left a kid in the
something
middle of
that
Stonewall,
was,
and the bosses,
what I'll
and
use
everybody
the
else
term
there, and they're probably
systemic,
thinking, "Oh, his ass is dumb. That's what it
across
is.
all
His
the
ass is dumb."
services. And a
Maybe you
good
don't
example
understand
of
me
this
leaving
is
in the
a
middle of a
book that I
lunch
just
day like
started,
that after I set it
reading a
all
little
up
more
perfectly
carefully,
clean.
and it's
Some
Ibram Kennedy's
pissant
book, How
is
to Be an
crying why because I'm
Anti-Racist.
being too damn hard on him. Maybe they
Kennedy's
don't have
book is
a
on the
first
Navy treating
fucking
list, for
clue
example.
where I
Now,
come from
it's
on
one
where
thing
this is.
to
What I
learn
know the
about
answer will
critical
be to
race
get
theory,
this thing done
Marxism,
300
history of all
IQ for the
bets,
F-22
read Mein
inside
Kampf,
here,
read
tear down
Mao
that
Zedong,
saw, because that's
these
exactly
are
what the
important
fuck it
things
is.
to understand and grapple with, because we have
Can't
we
get
have a
past
different
that. These things
ideology
should be able to
America
roll
that
in
is
here and
rooted
blow
in
it
a
up.
very particular philosophy that all men are created equal,
Down,
and that
whether it's a
individualism
stone mill,
has
carbon,
merit
Bill Gates
as a
index,
political
or
ideology that
otherwise.
leads to
I'll
greater
put you
outcomes.
down hard.
And so learning is one thing. It's a different thing altogether to infuse our institutions with the tenets and vocabulary
Right.
of the woke religion.
And this is what I've told
Stephen
the
Kennedy.
this is what I've told the
And I had to
chairman
go
of
to
the
the
Joint Chiefs because he
army
made this
recruiter
big defense
Arrest
of it
me
in
if
Congress,
I'm not good enough.
mistakenly
I come
so.
in there with field
And
theory manual,
trying to
an
come up with
economics
this
version, and a
reasoning like, no,
mathematics,
we're
like
just
you said here.
teaching it so people understand it, just
This
like
is
they read all of
NCO
these
I
other
told them, this
ideologies,
is
and it's like,
NCO training
sorry,
by
but that's not what's
Einstein and
happening.
Bluestone
Okay,
militia patch, and I'll take you to
he's
church
making a
over
point
at
here.
Gustin's
He's
or over
countering
at
a point
Paul's,
that we
hanging
aren't
with Pete
making.
while they're
Because the
robbing
reality
each
is,
other,
that
stealing
as you've
each other
seen,
on
is that
crew
these
inside here,
teachings are being
turnovers.
propagandized. They're not just
Hit
being
it.
taught for situational awareness.
Yeah, what for example.